Frieren, I need to tell you something. Something important. Won't you listen to me? The happy ending has melted before her eyes. Can't you hear me? Himmel? The dream fades away. The voice still rings in her ear like an explosion in a distant world. She blinks, lying still on the bed. There's sweat on her brow. She exhales. Himmel, she thinks. I heard you again. The elf pulls away her sheets, sitting up in bed. Her room is dark, save for a sliver of moonlight bleeding in through the drawn curtains. It's nowhere near sunrise, that much she can tell. Whenever she wakes up from the dream, she struggles to go back to sleep. So, the elf rises and draws the curtains. The sliver of moonlight becomes an onslaught, filling the room with its glow. She found an abandoned cottage a few months after they defeated the Demon King. It lies in the woods near the capital, not that anyone would know. After moving in, Frieren set up a litany of defensive spells to hide its presence from others. Not for her safety, for his. It isn't a home, just a place to stay. She's never really had a home. Her memories of the village where she lived as a child are fading now. The forest where she lingered after Flame's death, before leaving on their 10-year journey, feels much the same as this cottage. Once she's had the dream, she feels the need to check on him. There are 2 bedrooms and a main room. 3 bedrooms, in a sense. Frieren opens the door as quietly as possible. She doesn't want to wake up her other companion. The person in the main room, however, won't wake up regardless. He lies on a long wooden table in the center of the room, within a glass casket. She fashioned the casket out of magic for safety's sake. The moonlight pierces through the glass, reflecting off the surface. The pale silver blue light makes his clean-cut hair, which hasn't aged a day, seem aglow. He looks exactly the same as the moment the great nameless demon hit him with their curse. She wanders over to Himmel's side, rests her hand on the glass casket, staring down at him. He lies there like a man in a tomb, his hands clutched around the hilt of that familiar sword. The same blue jacket and white cloak enshroud him. His eyes are closed, but his lips are curled upwards into a small, content smile. He was smiling the moment he fell into this long slumber. Frieren has never understood why. How could he smile upon being hit by a demon's curse? It would have hit her instead, but Himmel pushed her out of the way. The demon they fought wasn't in the Demon King's army. They didn't do it to avenge their monarch's defeat. They had no agenda, no name. They looked like a boy, no older than 10, but that was just a disguise. Their curse puts the victim into an endless sleep. The demon used it to feed on their mana, slowly accruing it for themselves. The spell keeps the victim's body in stasis. Their body no longer ages or dies. All they do is sleep. She killed the demon a moment after Himmel pushed her out the way. A moment too late. The curse didn't break with the demon's death. The hero is still asleep. She hopes at least that the smile on Himmel's lips is the result of a beautiful dream. It would be cruel if he were having a nightmare, if the smile on his face was a lie. Himmel, she murmurs, her hands still resting on the glass, staring down at his motionless body. Every time I fall asleep, I dream of you. I hear your voice. You're trying to tell me something. What is it? Is it something that will help wake you up? He doesn't respond. He never responds. Frieren returns to her room before sunrise, but sleep doesn't return. No matter. At exactly sunrise, her companion always comes in to wake her up. Their routine is unchanging. As soon as the moon's rays are replaced by sunbeams, turning the room gold instead of silver, Frieren's apprentice enters her room without knocking. Her entrance is as regular an alarm call as the morning bird song, and 10 times as abrupt. Fern is wearing her usual morning dress. She's had it for years, So long, in fact, that Frieren can't remember for how long. Perhaps Fern made it herself? Nowadays, it's too small for her. The human's purple hair is long and beautiful. It reaches all the way down to her hips. When did that happen? Furthermore, when did she get so tall? It feels like only yesterday when Frieren took in that 13-year-old girl at Heiter's behest. She refused him at first. She even tried to leave without acquiescing, but Fern chased after her once Heiter passed away. The girl wouldn't take no for an answer. That was 10 years ago. Fern is 23 years old. She's not a girl anymore, Frieren reminds herself. Her journey with Fern has been as long as her journey with Himmel. The thought comes to her all at once. It makes her feel sad. Fern takes one look at Frieren's crumpled bedsheets and knows straight away. "You had the dream again," she says matter-of-factly. The elf nods. "Did Himmel finish his sentence this time?" A shake of the head. Fern sighs. That's her usual reaction. Of course he didn't. Frieren turns away and flops back down on the bed. Her apprentice immediately walks over and pulls her master back into a sitting position. "No, Frieren-sama," she says, voice firm. "It's time to wake up. If you don't get up now, you'll just spend the whole day in bed." Some muttered complaints. They have a variation on this conversation every morning. "Unbelievable," Fern mutters, as she gets her master ready. "Himmel hasn't woken up in 80 years, but you're still somehow lazier than him." She forces Frieren into the same old outfit, the one she wore on her journey to defeat the Demon King. The elf catches a glance of herself in the mirror. Her hair isn't tied up, but everything else about her appearance is identical. A memory comes to her. She was walking down a road with Himmel. Heiter and Eisen were further ahead, wittering about their latest tavern visit. Himmel was looking at her, his expression bittersweet. She asked him why he was looking. "It's strange how elves never age," he had said. "Of course we age." "Sorry. I mean it's strange how you look like you never age." She looked him up and down in return. "You don't look much different from when we met either." "It's been 8 years since then, Frieren," he'd replied softly. "I certainly look different." "Not enough to make a fuss over." He laughed again. "I can only hope I age as gracefully as you. Then I could stay this handsome for all eternity." Frieren's eyes flicker towards the door, which hangs ajar. Through it she can see Himmel's face in the glass casket. "You got what you asked for. I'm not sure this is how you imagined it, though." Fern sees the familiar absent expression take over her master's face, the telltale signs of reminiscing. It would be hard not to reminisce with him in the other room. She finds herself following the elf's gaze. That heroic visage has been lying there ever since Frieren first brought her to the cottage. They have left and returned a dozen times over, sometimes for seasons at a time. Himmel, however, has never moved, like some diligent stone guard at the door. The apprentice walks by him every day, but she has never heard his voice. He is the fairy tale hero she never got to meet. The man her master has spent decades trying to wake up, searching and searching for that elusive countercurse. A familiar prickle under her skin, a feeling she hates herself for feeling. Fern frowns, then walks over to the door and closes it, removing Himmel from their view. The elf doesn't address the gesture. Fern changes the topic before she can. "Can I brush your hair?" "Why? You brushed it 2 days ago." "It's messy again." "So? It's not like anyone will see it." "I will see it, Frieren-sama." "You don't count." "Why not?" "Because you live with me." "All the more reason to sort it out. Messy hair annoys me." "Is that why you spend so much time brushing yours?" Fern pauses, then rearranges a strand of her long purple hair. "No." Frieren nods in understanding. "I see." "See what?" "I match Himmel in laziness, but you match him in vanity." Her apprentice scowls and gives Frieren's hair a yank. The elf yelps in protest, but Fern is already removing a hairbrush from the bedside table, and she has that "you will now do what I say" look in her eye. It's a difficult look to combat. They fall into a customary silence as Fern starts to brush the elf's hair. She takes her time undoing all the knots. Frieren closes her eyes and dozes a little. A few times her apprentice nudges her back awake. She pretends as if she doesn't like it, but the feeling of the brush is therapeutic. "I still remember that hair ornament you gave me," Fern says unexpectedly, when she's almost finished. Frieren doesn't really register what she said at first. The hair ornament? Oh, the elf thinks, realizing what she meant. The birthday present I bought her. How old was Fern then? 17, 16, perhaps? She'd been travelling with Frieren for a while, and had been furious when the elf forgot her birthday the previous year. That was despite numerous reminders. Frieren hadn't meant to forget. She's always researching obscure forms of magic, travelling to old demon strongholds, doing everything she can to revive Himmel. She teaches Fern magic whenever she can, but sometimes her apprentice slips her mind. It's inevitable. But since Fern was so annoyed, she'd made doubly sure not to forget the girl's 17th birthday. The present she bought was the hair ornament, a pretty silver piece with the design of a butterfly. Fern had been extremely surprised when her master remembered, so surprised in fact, that she almost forgot to say thank you. Wearing the hair ornament every day was a more obvious sign of gratitude. The elf lets out a contented sigh as the brush does its work. Well, maybe a hair ornament would keep mine more in order. Fern doesn't reply, which surprises the elf. She thought her apprentice would say something like, "Absolutely not." Instead, she keeps to her brushing until the job is finished. "You should wear your hair down more often," Fern says at last. She jumps off the bed, looking at her master with crossed arms. "Like yours?" "Yes, Frieren-sama." "Why?" "It looks nice like that." Fern's voice is short. She doesn't want to compliment her master too much. "Don't you like the pigtails?" "They're fine, but change is good sometimes." Frieren thinks about it, then shakes her head. "I think I'll keep the pigtails. I used to wear my hair down like this. All the time, in fact. I never thought to do anything else. But then we saved a young girl from a demon, and she insisted on playing with my hair. That was the first year of our journey. She put my hair into pigtails. I thought it looked silly, but Himmel complimented me on it." She smiles. A pause. Fern's face is rather still. "I still think change is good," Fern says. "We can't stay the same forever." Frieren's smile turns ironic. Tell that to Himmel. Another pause, longer and more strained. Fern mutters something that might be, "I don't know why I bother," and then walks towards the door. Despite what she said, Frieren's eyes linger on Fern's hair. An image of her with pigtails pops into Frieren's mind, and she barely restrains the laughter. It wouldn't suit her apprentice at all. She has an air of elegance about her that no amount of moodiness or exasperation can dispel. The hint of a smile turns into the hint of a frown. She notices something out of place. "You're not wearing the hair ornament," she says, just as Fern's hand reaches the door. Her apprentice stops. "No, I'm not." Frieren wonders if she's going to elaborate, but nothing comes. Her apprentice's tone of voice has been blank too. It's hard to tell what she's thinking. No change there, then. Waiting for her to explain only seems to hasten Fern's departure. Her apprentice mutters something again, her expression out of sight. "I'll be practicing magic in the forest." But the door closes. She's gone. Frieren raises an eyebrow, but she isn't too concerned. Her apprentice often gives the impression of being annoyed at her. The only change is the absence of a hair ornament. She decides to ask again if it becomes clear that Fern's annoyance is genuine. It's not worth splitting hairs over. She has 80 years of work to continue with. Yesterday, she rediscovered a tome on demonology. There was a section on sleeping magic that could be worth going over. The task might take a few weeks. It's early in the year. Spring has returned. Outside of her window, she can see splashes of green returning to the trees and flower buds poking out all around the cottage. She likes the spring. The world is waking up. Frieren spends most of the day hunched over the tome, reading. There is a desk in the main room that she uses for work. Himmel lies in his casket just over her shoulder. It feels reassuring somehow to work in his presence. It's an affirmation of a promise, a journey, a friendship. One day, I'll wake you up. I'll save you, just like you saved me. She's doing this because it's what Himmel would have done. If he'd failed to push her out of the way, if she'd been struck by the sleeping curse instead, then Himmel wouldn't have rested until he woke her up. That's what silly, idealist heroes like him do. Somehow, Frieren feels as if Himmel would already have succeeded had their roles been reversed. It may have involved getting lucky, but heroes make their own luck. She was the mage in the party, not the hero. It was his job to be lucky. All she can do is transcribe ancient tome after ancient tome and scour the world for a counter-curse she doesn't even know exists. 80 years of coming up empty-handed would be discouraging for anyone. Luckily, she's an elf. She has a lot of time. Outside, she can hear the telltale sounds of Fern's Zoltrak spell. The cottage is surrounded by a dome-like defensive enchantment. The spell bounces off its walls harmlessly. Fern's Zoltrak is powerful these days. It's even more powerful than hers. Once again, Frieren is blown away by her rapid improvement. She's never met a human so talented, so hard-working. She's learnt more in 10 years than some people would in 100, than some elves would in 1,000. Humans can achieve a frightening amount in 10 years, Frieren thinks. They can even save the world. How much could Fern do if she left her master's side? She would already be a first-class mage, no doubt. She could be the mage in some other hero's party. She could have her own adventure. Or Fern could settle down, like all those strange humans are wont to do. Fern could do absolutely anything she wanted. There's not much more I can teach her, Frieren thinks. I wonder if she's realized that. The thought makes her feel strange. She can't identify the feeling. Besides, she's getting distracted. Himmel needs her. She returns to her work. Fern comes back inside around sunset. In her hands is a rabbit that must have been caught in one of their snares. They're used to eating on the road. Living in the cottage allows them a more substantial diet. She wordlessly prepares the rabbit as Frieren persists with her tome. The hearth comes alive, the fire ignited through subconscious magic. Soon, the rich aroma of meat begins to mold with the thick smell of smoke. It's nearly ready, Frieren-sama, Fern announces. The elf closes her book and moves to the hearth's side. The meat looks perfect. Frieren has accrued dozens of spells for food preparation over the centuries, but Fern always insists on cooking without their aid. Something about talent and not needing them. Would you like to eat outside, Frieren-sama? There's a lovely sunset tonight. Frieren thinks about it. No. Let's eat with Himmel. She collects a plate, even as Fern purses her lips. It really is lovely out there, Frieren-sama. I'm sure it is. We eat indoors all the time. Today I'd rather... Fern cuts herself off, as if she'd said too much. I'd like a change of scenery, is all. The elf considers her words for a moment. I know you think it's silly, but while we're here, I don't really like leaving him. It must be lonely in there all by himself. I know if I were in his place, he'd spend as much time with me as possible. But you're not in his place. Frieren frowns. Fern's tone of voice had been a little sharp. She thinks it unnecessarily blunt. Her apprentice probably acknowledges that herself, because she quickly averts her eyes. Never mind. Forget I said anything. She serves herself a portion of rabbit, still refusing to look at her master. Maybe I really did annoy her. Frieren thinks back to the morning, wondering what crime she has unintentionally committed. All she can think of is calling her vain. Their back and forth often consists of such petty insults, so other than that, she's at a loss. Fern is already seated when the elf joins her at the table, the one adjacent to Himmel's casket. Fern usually sits with her back to Himmel, blocking her master's sightline of him. They eat in silence, which isn't unusual, but the oppressive feeling in the room is. We can eat outside tomorrow, if you like, Frieren tries. All she gets is a monosyllabic grunt. They keep eating. But just as Frieren decides to try another angle, perhaps a vague apology, in the hope her apprentice will tell her what she's done wrong, Fern beats her to the punch. I think Himmel would prefer it if you didn't spend so much time with him. That Frieren wasn't expecting. She's not sure what to say. Fern is wrong, for one thing. During their journey, Himmel was frequently annoyed if Frieren didn't spend time with him. All heroes crave attention. Or perhaps she should qualify that as all humans. He liked it when the hero party ate together. It builds camaraderie. That was what he said. I think it worked quite well. Her apprentice seems to give up after that. Frieren hasn't persuaded her nor won the argument, if indeed this counts as an argument. Fern is just withholding what she actually wants to say. There's not much the elf can do about it. Fern finishes first and starts to clear things away, seeming like she'd rather be anywhere else. Most days, she'd wash everything herself, but this time she resorts to magic to speed things along. As soon as the last morsel of rabbit disappears down Frieren's lips, the plate jumps off the table and hovers across the room, straight into the sink. The elf remains seated. Soon everything is cleared away, and the hearth fire extinguished. Good night, Frieren-sama. Good night, Fern. She hesitates. I meant what I said about eating outside tomorrow. And I'll cook. I'll also clean. That won't be necessary. Fern pushes open the door to reveal an almost compulsively tidy bedroom. It's a far cry from her master's. She'd been planning to leave without another word. In truth, she's upset. A lot more than she feels is appropriate, which only makes her more upset. She knew the day would probably play out like this. She knows what Frieren is like. Elves aren't the same as humans. She doesn't mean to be rude. The excuses return to her like footsteps down a well-trodden path. But a bitter, neglected piece of Fern's heart can't help itself. It wills her to speak. You forgot again. You forgot. Fern clenches her fist in frustration. There's no point. She doesn't care anyway. You forgot to relay the snares last night. We only caught a rabbit because I set them in the morning. Oh. Sorry. No, you're not, she thinks, before disappearing into her room. Frieren's eyes rest on the wooden door. Anyone would think Fern is still standing there. She can't remember relaying the snares. It's true that she forgot, but... Her pupils shift to the window. Fern had spoken of a lovely sunset. Sure enough, she sees a purple and orange sky through the undergrowth, slowly giving way to the dark hues of twilight. But she's preoccupied with the colours of the trees. That morning she'd noticed the return of greenery to the forest, the leaves, the flower buds. Spring has arrived. There's something important about the springtime. What is it? Oh. Frieren realizes what she's forgotten. The return of spring is supposed to be a yearly reminder. It means that Fern's birthday is upon them. She doesn't curse, nor knock on Fern's door to apologize. She knows well enough that words won't have much effect. Fern needs time to stew before she'll be receptive to any apologies. Yet her stomach twists with guilt all the same. You forgot again. Why didn't I put two and two together? Frieren thinks. She did everything but tell me outright it was her birthday. She didn't wear the hair ornaments so that I'd remember. She gave me plenty of opportunities. The elf gets to her feet, but still doesn't go to Fern's door. She lays her hand on Himmel's glass casket, looking down at his closed eyelids. You would have remembered, wouldn't you, Himmel? For a moment, she thinks she sees his eyelids twitch. It must be her imagination. We do get nice sunsets round here, don't we? The next evening, they're sitting outside the cottage, without Himmel. The sky is more orange this time, the colour seeping through the canopy, but the sight is no less spectacular. They're sitting on the grass round a campfire. Its soothing heat washes over them, combined with the early spring breeze. Frieren fulfilled her unnecessary promise of cooking this time. It's deer and vegetable stew, made with venison they had stored in the larder. Frieren chose to cook without the aid of magic. Using it would have felt like cheating. It doesn't taste as good. These gestures will do until she can think of a better way to apologize. Whatever that is, she doesn't know. Fern doesn't seem to mind, either way. She's been very normal today. The hair ornament is back in place. She dressed her master as expected, gave her pigtails without question, left her to work unaddressed. The girl was unresponsive when Frieren joined her outside for training, and calmly accepted it when Frieren cooked without asking. Not rude, not upset, but unmoved. They haven't spoken about the elf's forgetfulness. They both know it happened, and they both know what Frieren's gestures mean. How's the stew? Good, Frieren-sama. I'm glad. Not as good as mine, though. Tell me something I don't know. Fern doesn't smile. She made the comment on instinct. Her mind is consumed with another topic. She's been thinking about this for a while, and after yesterday it kept her from falling asleep. The prospect has never felt more real, more immediate. She's been avoiding it for too long. Frieren has no idea what her apprentice is thinking about and doesn't try to guess. She has another mouthful of stew. A purple-feathered songbird lands on a tree branch nearby. The elf does a double take. You don't usually see such seasonal birds until later in spring. The sight compels her to speak. I think we'll leave a little before summer this year. Fern blinks at her master's words. That early? Why not? It's been a long winter, and I'm sure you miss the road as much as I do. Besides, I have a good feeling about this year. I think we're about to make a breakthrough. The tome I'm reading is promising, though I've already transcribed it. It comes from the northern lands, near one of the Demon King's old fortresses. I visited there before and didn't find anything, but who knows? Maybe there's something I missed. It's worth another try. Fern swallows, suddenly having lost her appetite. Her master has given her the perfect opportunity to bring up what she's been thinking about. What do you say, Fern? Haven't you found any new leads? You said you visited this fortress before. Surely there must be somewhere new we can search. The silence that follows is all the answer she needs. There's no harm in retracing our steps, Frieren continues, as if she hadn't heard. The northern lands have always been the most likely place. Not we. You. The words slipped out before Fern could stop herself. Her master looks at her in confusion. What do you mean? Fern has brought it up far too abruptly. She shouldn't have done it like this. It's spur of the moment, which isn't like Fern, but she couldn't listen to her master a moment longer. Keeping quiet about it would just be more dishonest. Fern scrambles to explain herself. You've been my master for 10 years now, Frieren-sama. I know it wasn't your choice. You turned down Haita originally, and I basically forced myself on you after he died, but you took me in nonetheless. You taught me magic I could never have dreamed of. You've been patient with me when I struggled and never given up on me. I think you were the best teacher I could have hoped for, but the truth is, I can't do this anymore. The elf just looks at her blankly. The meal is all but forgotten. You have a mission, Fern murmurs, and I've helped you with that mission as much as I can. You're an elf. You can retrace your steps as much as you want. It isn't the same for me. I can't keep running around in circles like this. It's probably 2 months before summer comes. When you leave for the northern lands, Her mind blanks at the crucial moment. The words abandon her. You're not coming with me. Frieren finishes the sentence for her. Fern hesitates, her eyes fixed on her feet. No. I think I'd like to return to Strahl. Or maybe I could take the first-class mage exam. I could do a lot of things, I'm not entirely sure yet. All I know is that I want to live my life. Frieren lets the words settle and the silence lengthen. She's not quite sure why. It could be because she doesn't know what to say. It could be because she's surprised. Or it could be because she isn't surprised at all. Either way, the elf's tongue isn't working. Even yesterday, she found herself wondering something similar. Fern's reasoning is identical. She has her whole life ahead of her. She was never going to follow Frieren around forever. As the thoughts run through her mind, Fern feels like she's about to be sick. Say something. The human whispers, giving in. Her master blinks. Please, Frieren-sama, say something. She forces herself to talk. All right. I understand what you're saying. It's reasonable, really. And? The elf thinks about it and decides to just speak her mind. To be honest, I thought you would have left already. If the last silence was awkward, this one is unbearable. Frieren quickly realizes she said the wrong thing. Whatever she was supposed to say, it wasn't that. Just because it's on your mind doesn't mean humans will appreciate hearing it. She knew that, but her mind had gone blank, her feelings were a muddle, and she resorted to the only available thought. I see, Fern murmurs. Her eyes are focused on the sunset. The elf clicks her tongue, feeling foolish. Would you like some more stew? A strained laugh. I've had enough. The elf tries a few more times to get a reaction out of her, but nothing works. Fern just sits there, motionless, like Himmel in his glass tomb. Eventually she does get to her feet, abandoning her meal. She's standing on the cottage porch when she finally looks back and makes eye contact. Thank you, Fern says, with a polite little bow. For what? A wounded look flashes across her face, only to disappear like the sunset. For the meal? And everything else. And then she's gone. At the very same moment, the songbird which had remained in the tree all throughout their conversation takes flight into the sky. An outside observer might think everything is normal. It isn't. It's not that they haven't talked about it. Fern's farewell has come up in conversation a lot over the past 2 weeks, but they've only talked practicalities. The apprentice has told Frieren more about her plans, even sending letters to the Magic Association. Frieren has tried to be more attentive, without sacrificing her time with Himmel. The elf thinks of the purple bird she saw. Humans are just the same. They appear for a passing moment, capture all your attention, and then fly away into the sky. Only the memory lingers, and one day the memory will dull too, until the songbird is just a flash of colour in the mind, the sweetness of a melody you can't quite recall. The tree a bird rests on will last for centuries. Birds come and go. She remains. Frieren knows she hasn't always been the best teacher Fern could have hoped for, regardless of what her apprentice says. At the absolute minimum, she regrets forgetting her birthday. Again. Luckily, she has a plan for a proper apology, a late birthday gift. Since Fern will be leaving, she plans to double the gift as a farewell. The problem is simple. She has to ask Fern a question without outright asking her. The gift requires a subtlety that Frieren doesn't claim to possess, so she waits for the perfect moment. It comes 3 weeks after Fern told her she's planning to leave. Late afternoon. The spring sunlight is brighter and warmer than usual. Frieren wipes her forehead free of sweat. She's strolling through the forest, searching for her apprentice. Fern left the cottage a few hours ago without announcing so. She often leaves for a walk, an instance of privacy. The elf checks their frequent haunts. There's a clearing in the north of the forest that Fern likes. She isn't there. The banks of the river are empty too, save for a live doe taking a sip from the stream. Frieren frowns. She stumbles upon her apprentice through sheer dumb luck. It's a part of the forest she doesn't know as well. A small meadow, adorned with wild lavenders in full bloom. Fern is perched on a fallen tree trunk amidst the lavenders, their colour blending with the purple of her hair. It's not Fern that catches Frieren's eye though. It's what's in her hand. She's holding an open bottle of red wine. The elf recognises the bottle. It's been sitting in the cottage cellar for years. The wine was given to them as a reward for helping an old woman clean their house in the Central Lands. Frieren was satisfied with the grimoire, but the woman insisted on an extra bounty. Her apprentice brings the bottle to her lips and takes a measured sip. "That's my wine," Frieren observes, matter-of-factly. Fern lets out a yelp of surprise, spilling a drop on her jacket. She looks from her master to the bottle, expression briefly like a child caught playing in a barred room. Then she huffs. The response is indignant. "You should announce yourself rather than just standing there, Frieren-sama." "Well, you didn't announce taking my wine." Another huff, a little more sheepish. "It's been in the cellar for years." "True. You never drank it." "I thought someone might as well, especially since I'm leaving in a month." "Also true." The elf closes the distance and plonks herself down on the felled trunk without asking for permission. "You're not annoyed, are you?" "No. Although I don't see why you couldn't have asked." Frieren puffs out her cheeks, almost as childishly as Fern's expression upon being caught. "Well, She tried to explain herself, but then gave up. "My apologies, Frieren-sama. I don't know why I didn't ask either. I shouldn't have taken it. That's not what I mean." "What I mean is, why didn't you ask me to join you?" Frieren's cheeks are still puffed. The woman blinks in surprise and then lets out a chuckle. "I see." Frieren is as curious as she is surprised by Fern's actions. "Why are you drinking out here on your own? Why are you drinking at all? You've always turned alcohol down." She purses her lips defensively, but doesn't snap or retort. Instead, she thinks over her answer with care. "Why didn't you drink this yourself?" Her master shrugs. I don't really like alcohol. In the past, I could never see the point. It just makes you feel all fuzzy and then gives you a headache. The first time I tried it was with Flame. It was also the first time I remember throwing up. Fern can't help but chuckle again at her deadpan, unintentionally funny delivery. I swore I'd never drink again, Frieren continues. Flame just shrugged and said, "You'll understand one day." And did you? Yes, because of Himmel. Oh, of course. Fern resents herself for the off-colour note that slipped into her voice. Frieren notices it, but decides to just finish the story. It was all of them, really. Himmel, Eisen, and Heiter. In the first few months of our journey, they kept on going to taverns. They'd invite me too, no matter how many times I said no. They pestered me so much that in the end it became easier just to say yes. I thought it would be boring, but they were having so much fun that I ended up having fun myself. The next time we went out, I tried a taste of Himmel's ale. It tasted horrible and bitter, but the confusing thing was, Himmel agreed. He told me he'd always hated the taste of alcohol. He only ever drank with other people. For him, it was never about the drink. He never had anyone to share this bottle with, Fern murmurs. Apparently I do now, Frieren replies, a question in her voice. The apprentice exhales, her finger tapping on the glass bottle. I don't really know why I'm doing this. Heiter quit drinking before he took me in. He always told me to avoid it. I know it was different for him, but, well, you know better than I, Frieren-sama. She does. The Demon King had been defeated, but they were still travelling through his territory. There were many rogue demons still lurking. It had been Heiter's turn to keep watch over camp. They hadn't seen any danger in days. He'd indulged in some beer and fallen asleep by accident. The moment you let your guard down is always when the greatest dangers appear. Heiter never forgave himself. Like all three of them, the priest blamed himself for what happened to Himmel. He never drank a drop after that. Fern has followed his stern instruction not to drink her whole life. Only now has she chosen to go against his advice. I'm leaving because I want to try new things, to really start living. She sighs. Maybe I thought this was as good a place to start as any. Silly, isn't it? I don't think it's silly at all. You don't? Hiding it from me was silly. Fern covers her face with her hands. Thank you as always, Frieren-sama. You have something new to try, and I have someone new to share a drink with. Don't make a habit of drinking on your own, though. Heiter's advice on that was sound. For once. The elf gestures for her apprentice to hand the bottle over. She does so, and Frieren takes a sip. She hasn't tasted wine in centuries. It's preferable to beer, in her opinion, but that's not saying much. Fern had been drinking slowly. She's a cautious girl at heart, even when trying to be adventurous. And they carry on at the same pace. They make small talk in some moments, enjoy the peace and quiet in others. A light flush begins to appear on Fern's cheeks. Her smile seems a little more free than usual. Perhaps that's what compels her to broach a topic she wouldn't typically broach. Heiter talked about the hero party a lot. That's not surprising. He talked about you the most of all. That is surprising. Is it? Frieren doesn't reply. He never complained that you didn't return his letters, but I could tell it made him sad. He wanted to help you, Frieren-sama. Him back then and Eisen still. I was busy with Himmel. I know. It made sense for you to look after him, to take on the responsibility. You're a mage, and the one who could search for the counter-curse for the longest time. Heiter understood that, but I think he hoped to be more involved. I think that's partly why he wanted you to train me, so he could help you through me. Well, he always had a way of getting what he wanted. That corrupt priest. Did you... Fern backs out at the last moment. Go ahead. The apprentice takes another sip of wine before doing so. Did you blame him for what happened? I think he worried that you did. No. I blame all of us. Himmel most of all. Himmel? He always has to be the hero. I'm glad he did. Otherwise it would have been you in that glass casket instead. She realizes what she said a moment too late. Or Heiter. But Frieren doesn't react. She's more concerned with semantics. He's not dead, Fern. Only asleep. Does, not did. Yes, Frieren-sama. The bottle dwindles down to a quarter full. Fern has drunk more and loosened to a point where she's leaning against her master on the old tree trunk. Her breathing has turned deep and heavy. The feeling of Fern against her side recalls a moment from the past, a fond moment. The elf's lip curves into a tiny smile. This reminds me of something. Let me guess, something to do with Himmel? The odd note in her voice is stronger this time. Fern wishes she could blame a lack of inhibition, but it comes out reflexively. A jab of shame right in the pit of her stomach. Why am I saying things like that? She doesn't look at her master's face, already regretting it, but Frieren's voice is soft. Actually, it has something to do with you. It does? Yes. I was thinking about the time we saw the Northern Lanterns together. The apprentice stiffens a little, though she doesn't budge from Frieren's side. You know, I'd already seen the Northern Lanterns 7 times. The time I saw it with you was the 8th. Really? That many? I'm well over 1,000 years old, Fern, she reminds her gently. So that's why you said no when I asked whether we could see them? No. The main reason was the one I gave you at the time. I wanted to follow up on the lead we found for Himmel. I really thought it was time for him to wake up. Fern remembers it well. They'd only known each other for 2 years, 3 at the most. At first, Fern had thrown herself into the search for Himmel's countercurse with the same vigour she gave her training. That vigour had yielded a text about an underground ruin in the frozen lands near Oriol, once inhabited by an ancient demon. Her and Frieren set out for the site immediately. They had never travelled anywhere so fast. She remembered feeling her master's urgency, her anticipation, her eagerness. And it terrified her. The human swallows uncomfortably, but her master keeps talking. I was surprised when you insisted so strongly on seeing the lanterns. I couldn't understand why we'd divert our course when we were so close. But for you, it would have been the first time. She smiled. The best spot to see the lights was over a week in the wrong direction, but you refused to take a step further until you'd seen them. You didn't give me much choice, Fern. You can really put your foot down sometimes. Fern resorts to another taste of wine, a gulp more than a sip. I wasn't very happy, right up to when the lanterns appeared in the sky. I'd seen them 7 times already. There was no reason to be excited. But I was wrong. Seeing it with you made me remember how beautiful they were. I got to see them for the first time, all over again. We were sitting next to each other, huddled in the same coat to keep warm. It felt a bit like this, don't you think? The colours are still vivid in Fern's consciousness. She had no particular investment in seeing the lights even at the time. She'd chosen them because they were nearby. They were a means to elongate the journey. As such, she hadn't been prepared for how spectacular they would be. An explosion of fluorescent orange and blue, shimmering and wavering in the sky, appearing from nothing, like some dragon of the mythical era had breathed them into being. It wasn't magic, just a contrivance of nature, but to her, it was just as wondrous. Her smile came unprompted. She forgot about the freezing cold. She forgot about the terror. She held her master close, wrapped in the same blanket, and enjoyed her life without reservation. And Frieren held her back. She smiled too. For a brief, beautiful moment, Fern was no longer a spectator. She was part of Frieren's life. She can't remember them ever being so close. Not before, not since. Fern subconsciously leans closer into her master. The elf accepts the contact, her mind still on the time they saw the northern lanterns, the past and the present merging together. Sunset is approaching over the lavender meadow. The quiet, as they remember the past, the elf realizes, is the perfect segue. She can ask the question without asking it outright. She can prepare Fern's late birthday gift. Do you have a fondest memory? Frieren repeats the question. Her apprentice blinks once, then twice. Why do you ask? Curiosity. One moment appears in her mind's eye straight away. Fern takes a few minutes before telling her a story. Once, you asked me what my favourite spell was, Frieren-sama. She clicks her fingers. An orb of blue light appears above her, and from it emerges a butterfly. Its movement so real and convincing one could half believe it wasn't a magical projection. Its body, pale as moonlight, translucent in the air, flutters over their heads. Yes, you showed me this spell before. Haita taught you it, didn't he? Fern closes her eyes, her head against the elf's shoulder, her face fond and nostalgic. It was the second or third spell I ever learned. I love it. It reminds me of Haita. A brief hesitation. He's the most important person I've ever known. Frieren nods. This was her first guess for the title of Fern's fondest memory. Still, she realizes it may have been better to specify fondest memory with her instead of fondest memory in general. If Frieren had shared the memory, then procuring the gift would have been a lot easier. But this isn't about her. It's about Fern. They finish the wine, or rather Fern does, and then begin the walk back to the cottage. It's the apprentice's first time drinking, but she did so with restraint. Her walking is steady, if a little slower and uncertain than before. At one point she trips over a branch. Frieren reaches out to steady her, but Fern recovers at the last moment. I'm fine, she murmurs. You don't need to help me. The elf steps back, allowing her the independence requested. The magic butterfly Fern had cast accompanies them the whole way home. She clicks her finger once more at the cottage threshold, and with a flash, the figment of her fondest memory phases out of existence. Himmel is waiting for them inside his glass casket. Frieren greets him out loud. Fern does not. She hangs up her coat without a word. I'm sorry again for taking the bottle without asking. There's no need to apologize. Thank me for keeping you company instead. All right. Thank you, Frieren-sama. A smile. For Himmel, it was never about the drink, No. For Haita, though, it was all about the drink. For you, it seems to be the same. Fern snorts. On that note, it's time to... She's cut off. Her master has reached out and patted her on the head, entirely out of the blue. Haita once told me you were the hard-working sort, who needs lots of praise and guidance, the elf rasps. I should have followed his advice more closely. A lump rises in Fern's throat. She brushes Frieren's hand away and shuts the door to hide her face, afraid of her own reaction, afraid of how her voice cracks when she mutters goodnight. The elf is taken back by how the night ended. She hadn't planned on saying that. Fern's reaction had been strange, too. Alcohol makes you do strange things, she reminds herself. She doesn't follow her apprentice to bed straight away. First, she has a gift to prepare. She stops by Fern's coat, hanging in the hallway. As expected, a strand of long, waist-length purple hair has been caught on the collar. Frieren takes it between her fingers, inspecting it in the thinning light. The memory of Haita and the butterfly spell doesn't belong to her. She wasn't a part of Fern's life back then. She won't be a part of it for much longer either. Good. With this, I can cast the spell. The day that Fern will say goodbye and Frieren will leave for the northern lands marches toward them. When spring becomes summer, that's when they both vowed. The days grow longer, hotter, brighter, each turning of the sun like the turning of a clock hand. It chimes when it reaches noon, counting down the seconds of their relationship. They do spend time with each other. It might be more than before, but they can both feel the time slipping away. One bright and beautiful day, they even take a walk in the fields outside of the forest, leaving Himmel in anticipation of another journey. The sunflowers bloom all along the road. It's a spectacular sight. Around a week before Fern is set to leave, Frieren wakes up from her dream of Himmel. She hears his voice once more. "Can't you hear me?" The question never dies. Frieren follows the habit of going to check on Himmel, only to find she isn't the only one awake. The darkness in the cottage is intense and smothering. All the curtains are closed. There are no candles, no moonlight, no illumination. Nonetheless, Frieren can still make out the shape of her apprentice. The human is standing above Himmel's casket, as if suspended by magic. Fern is peering down at the one person she wants to see even less than her master. There he is, Himmel the hero. Statuesque, smiling, untouchable. Frieren Sama's mission. He's always there. It feels like he's in every room of the cottage occupying the space. The apprentice has a ridiculous suspicion that his eyes open when she looks away. He closes them again when she looks back. It really feels like he's always watching. Most of the time, she tries to ignore his presence, but tonight, she finds herself walking right up to the casket, staring back at the closed eyelids that seem to mock her. Frieren has no idea how long her apprentice has been standing there. She doesn't react to her master's appearance. All she does is stare at the hero in the glass. It's the dead of night, hours before sunrise. He didn't finish his sentence, did he? Fern rasps at long last. Frieren shakes her head. It's funny. Looking at him here, I almost thought he was moving his lips, trying to speak to you. It was just a trick of the darkness, Frieren Sama. The elf pulls a chair over to the casket's side and joins her apprentice in the night vigil. I've always wondered what he sounded like. I imagine a deep voice. Deep. Fern shrugs. It seems like the kind of voice a hero would have. His voice isn't very deep. It's quite high, actually. I see. It's not like you to be awake at this hour, Fern. No, I'm not used to being here with you. She doesn't offer a reason why she's awake. Frieren doesn't press. Neither is sure how long they stay there until someone speaks again. It could have been years. What was he really like? Not was, is. She sighs. You know what I mean, Frieren Sama. Frieren tries to sort through her memories. Himmel is enjoyable to be around. He cares about others. He can be funny sometimes. He's nearly always smiling. His spirits are alarmingly high. He makes you want to impress him somehow. Was there anything wrong with him? There must have been something wrong, Fern mumbles, with a trace of despair. People aren't supposed to be perfect. Her apprentice takes the absence of an answer as the lack of an imperfection. It isn't that. Frieren just can't comprehend why Fern is asking, or further still, why she's awake. Of course there are things wrong with him, she says steadily. Lots of things. He knows other humans find him good looking, and he likes it when they do. He'll spend hours posing for statues and portraits. He's overconfident. He's so sure that he'll win, that everything will turn out all right, that sometimes it doesn't. Anything else? Frieren shrugs. You'd know better than I, in a way. What do you mean? You're the closest human I've ever met to being like Himmel. For a heartbeat, Fern is stunned, but then she laughs self-deprecatingly. Please, Frieren Sama, don't be absurd. Why is that absurd? Because he's the man who defeated the Demon King. He's the hero. Yes, he is those things. But he's also an orphan, like you, who never takes no for an answer. He's hard-working, like you. He makes the impossible happen, like you. He impresses me, like you. And yes, sometimes he's a little vain, like you. Fern has no reply. You'd like him, I think, Frieren adds, with a small but confident smile. Everybody does. It's impossible for everyone to like him, Frieren Sama. The day is upon them. They help each other pack their luggage the night before. It's the same routine they carry out when travelling to look for Himmel's countercurse. Neither address how they'll be going in different directions. Fern fusses over her master's typically laissez-faire approach to packing. She wouldn't even bring a toothbrush if Fern didn't make sure. 2 briefcases stand in the hallway overnight, waiting for their owners to wake up. Both are enchanted with a legendary spell from the mythical era that makes a bag bigger on the inside, without compromising the weight. It was one of the first spells Frieren taught her apprentice. They cast it together on their luggage one final time. Fern wakes her master up, brushes her hair, gets her dressed. They eat breakfast beside Himmel's casket. They'd both planned to leave in the morning before midday. Round about now, in fact. Without saying anything, Fern goes to the hallway and picks up her briefcase. She briefly goes over her appearance in the mirror, adjusting her hair and long white summer dress. It's far too hot for the usual black overcoat. Frieren's appearance hasn't changed since her journey with the hero party. The pigtails remain in place. Frieren picks up her luggage too. Neither of them open the door. They stand in the hallway looking at each other. Aren't you going to say goodbye to Himmel? Frieren asks, after who knows how long. Fern blinks. Oh. Another pause. Aren't you? Yes, Frieren Sama, I suppose I should. Fern puts her luggage back down and walks rather stiffly over to Himmel's casket. She doesn't touch the glass, nor does she linger there for long. The elf can't see her apprentice's expression. Goodbye, Himmel. Perhaps I'll see you later. That's all she says before returning to the exact spot she'd been standing in the hallway. That was a rather quick goodbye, Frieren says. Yes, but Himmel would approve. He would? Frieren nods. He didn't like tearful goodbyes. They're not our style. It would be embarrassing when we meet again. That's what he used to say. So that's why you were so brief with Haita. And now probably with me, Fern thinks. Yes. You'll meet Himmel when he wakes up again, after all. Yes. When he wakes up. Fern didn't meet her master's eyes when she said that. She reaches down and picks up her luggage once more. Let's go outside. Frieren pushes open the door. An onslaught of summer rays bleed into the cottage, reflecting brightly off the glass. It blinds her for a second. The elf has to cover her eyes. You should say goodbye to Himmel too, Frieren Sama, the apprentice murmurs. Why? I'll be back from the northern lands soon enough. Besides, he hasn't woken up yet. That's true. Without elaborating, Fern steps past her master onto the cottage porch, then down into the forest clearing. Outside, it's swelteringly hot. The sun glares down at them with the hint of an accusation. Nonetheless, it's a beatific summer day. Songbirds croon and crescendo in the trees, occasionally taking flight into the bright, cloudless sky. It's no longer spring. Summer is upon them, and the world is wide, wide awake. Fern lets out a long, deep breath she hadn't realised she'd been holding. Out of the cottage, into the world. Yes, into the sky, the great blue beyond. Yes, she rasps under her breath. It's time to start living. But not quite yet. She has another quick goodbye to navigate. That's how Himmel liked it, and how Frieren likes it too. She produces a smile she hopes is neither too happy nor too sad, then faces her master head-on. The elf has followed her outside, a similar smile on her own face. "Well, Frieren-sama," she begins, her throat feeling rather dry. Fern had thought about what she'd say last night, even rehearsed something, but now those rehearsed words seem hackneyed, and she speaks in plainer terms. "It has been an enjoyable 10 years. It has. I was glad to be a part of your life. And I yours." Fern's fingers dig into her side. "Goodbye. Wait just a moment." The elf has knelt down and opened her briefcase. She's rummaging around inside, searching for something. Fern watches her biting her lip as her master produces a parcelled box from her luggage. She hands it over to Fern, who takes it, confused. "What's this, Frieren-sama?" "It's an apology." "For what?" "For forgetting your birthday," Frieren says, earnest. "That wasn't good of me. I should have remembered with the return of spring, but I was distracted. I'm often distracted, Fern. I've made you aware of that too many times. So I figured a late birthday gift was better than none at all." The apprentice holds the box limply in her hands, as if cradling the body of a hatchling bird, injured and unable to take flight. "Open it," Frieren insists. Fern swallows. She gently tugs the cord, loosens the knot, removes the packaging. The box had a noticeable weight to it, the wrong shape for a grimoire, and too heavy to be some kind of jewellery. Inside the box is perhaps the last thing Fern expects. "A mirror?" she states disbelievingly. "It's a hand mirror, to be precise. The rim has no ornate design, no precious stones adorning it. The glass is even a little murky. She can see herself clearly within, but Frieren's gift is hardly in good condition." Nonetheless, the apprentice chuckles from the sheer unpredictability. "Is this so I can always look at myself? Frieren-sama, I'm not that vain." The elf pouts. "It's not so you can look at yourself. It's so you can look into the past. What are you—" Fern trails off before she can finish. Right before her eyes, the image in the hand mirror has begun to shift. Ripples appear in the glass, as if she were staring into an ever-shifting dream. They replace her reflection, chasing it away. The hum of magic rises in the air like cicadas. Fern feels the mana expended rushing through the handle, right into her heart and memories. "This was a grimoire I've had for centuries," Frieren explains, proud of her gift. "I found it in Flame's library after she died. It's a spell for showing a person their fondest memory. You can cast it on a pool of water, on a window, in a mirror, and it will show you a scene from the past. There's no way of controlling what memory it shows you. The spell looks into your heart and chooses the absolute truth." The elf waits for a reaction. She doesn't get one. All Fern does is stare at the mirror, immobile. "I thought it would be a nice farewell gift. I've enchanted the mirror for good. It will only ever show your fondest memory, Fern, and no one else's. Unfortunately, I wasn't there when Heisa taught you the butterfly spell. Since it wasn't my memory, I had to use a strand of your hair for the enchantment to work, but I assumed you wouldn't mind." Fern's lip has started to tremble. She can't look away from the mirror. Frieren notices, pleased. In her experience, humans' lips tremble when they're overcome with emotion, which means the gift has probably made her happy. "Let's see it then." Frieren walks round to Fern's side. "Wait!" Too late. They both stare at the scene in the mirror, the absolute truth, Fern's fondest memory. The apprentice is there, but she isn't with Heiter. There are no magical butterflies fluttering in the air. The Fern in the memory isn't a young girl. She's a teenager. She's sitting on the ground, wrapped up in a large coat, pressed up against someone's side. It's a scene from the far north. Snow lines the ground, icy winds rush past them at high speed. In the air, the sky is aflame with blue and orange. The northern lanterns are dancing. Fern and Frieren are the only audience. Fern drops the mirror on the ground. The memory fades from the glass, leaving only their reflections in the present behind. Her lip is trembling more and more. She turns away from her master, trying to regain her composure. The elf looks helplessly between her apprentice and the gift. She bends down and picks up the mirror, checking that the glass hasn't been damaged. In Frieren's hands, it's only a mirror. In Fern's, it's a vision of the two of them watching the northern lanterns, forever. Frieren wants to ask why her apprentice lied about her fondest memory, but deep down, she thinks she knows the answer, and that in itself makes it difficult to speak. Do you still want the gift? Fern breathes out raggedly. Still, she takes the time to collect herself. She's as calm as either can reasonably hope when she snatches the mirror out of Frieren's hands. Of course I still want the mirror, she chokes out, pulling it into her chest protectively. You chose it for me, Frieren-sama. I see. I was just surprised. I thought you wanted a quick goodbye and then you give me something like this. The more she speaks, the more obvious the shaking in her voice becomes. Fern tries to hide it by bending down, opening her luggage and storing the mirror inside. Then she's back on her feet, luggage in hand, ready to go. Ready to continue where she left off. Goodbye, Frieren-sama. Let's not make this embarrassing when we meet again. Frieren watches it all happen like the present is only a vision, and she a mere observer. She doesn't say goodbye back. She thought the gift would bring clarity, make everything easier somehow. She was wrong. Aren't you going to say goodbye back? Fern demands. Goodbye, the elf mutters. At least say it so I can hear you, Frieren-sama. Otherwise I'll think you don't mean it. Goodbye, Fern, she repeats, as strongly as possible. All right. I'm going now. And she walks away. Her steps are slow but purposeful. The luggage seems like it's weighing her down. Perhaps the spell to remove the weight is fading. But Fern keeps walking, one foot in front of the other, until she's standing at the cottage's edge. One more step, and she'll disappear into the great beyond. But she doesn't take the final step. Frieren waits and waits, silent, but she doesn't move. When Fern does move again, it isn't to move away. She turns back towards her master. I want you to know that I'm leaving regardless, Frieren-sama. In a way, I'm already gone. Yes, I can see that. But could you just answer one more question? Of course, Fern. She takes a deep, shaky breath and asks the question she needs to ask. For clarity. For herself. Did you ever consider coming with me? Frieren can only stand and stare. Only a part of me hoped you would. I thought there was a chance you'd ask the same questions I've been asking. Who would wake you up in the morning? Who would dress you? Who would make sure you don't stay up all night reading grimoires? I thought you might need me as much as I need you. It's just as you said, Fern. You have to live your life. Yes, I said that, Frieren-sama, but... She wipes her eyes, frustrated and in pain. But the truth is, all the ways I could imagine living my life, they all involve you. Don't be silly. I don't think it's silly at all. You taught me magic. You taught me everything I know. I couldn't live my life without magic, could I? What about you, Frieren-sama? Could you live your life without magic? Of course not. It's the same thing. I couldn't live my life without magic. I couldn't live my life without you. You're my teacher, my best friend, my only family in the whole world. After Haita died, you're all I have left, so come with me. Live with me. Frieren is lost for words. Her apprentice leaves her luggage abandoned by the side of the forest clearing. She strides back to her master's side and kneels down to the elf's height. She reaches out her hand. Please. Why are you saying these things? Frieren shakes her head. If you knew this was true, why did you say you were going to leave? Because I realized I was doing exactly the same thing as you. Which is? Living my life for someone else, Fern whispers. Frieren shakes her head ever more frantically. This isn't how we should say goodbye. Her apprentice doesn't relent. Every day, I'd see you searching for a breakthrough. At first I thought it was admirable, but then I saw days become years and the casket didn't break. The truth is, you never even made a dent on the glass. It's the same with me. I kept searching, waiting for a change, but I never made a dent on your life. Fern, I'm doing the same as you. I'm just sitting around, waiting and waiting for someone to wake up and see me. But they never do. Not you, and not Himmel. Frieren is struggling to meet her apprentice's gaze. Fern is kneeling in front of her, and there's so much desperation in her face. Desperation for her master to understand. I don't know what you want me to say, Frieren mutters. I don't know what I can say. You're asking for words I can't give you. Fern covers her face with her hands. You know I can't leave, Fern. I made a promise. I can't leave until I find a way to wake him up. You know that. He's not waking up, Frieren-sama. Fern can't stop now. She's wanted to say it for years. She's been hoping, praying that Frieren would wake up and see the truth. She knows it will hurt, but what else can she do? If her master won't see it, she'll make her see it. You've searched everywhere, Frieren-sama. There's nowhere left to look. There are no more books to be read or clues to be found. The only one who could do it, who could wake him up, was the great nameless demon. And the great nameless demon is dead. The counter-curse died with them. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But he's never going to wake up. Frieren has never looked so small. Like a child who's been told that magic doesn't exist. Her posture has slumped. Fern wants to apologize. She says something hurtful, but there's no backing out now. It will hurt either way. The elf mumbles something inaudible under her breath. Fern asks her to repeat it. You think I don't know that? Frieren lifts her head, utter hopelessness in her green eyes. You think I haven't realized? We only travelled together for 10 years. I can count on one hand the things I know about Himmel. I only know the things he did, the way he acted. There are so many questions I never got to ask him. Frieren-sama, are these the words you need? Frieren's voice is still quiet, even as her shoulders shake. Would you only be satisfied when I say it aloud? Why do humans always insist on hearing the words? I knew Himmel wanted me to say more, but I could never do it. It's the same with you. Fern looks down, the guilt rising. You don't have to. I've already spent 80 years trying to wake him up. I've found no evidence the spell exists, none whatsoever. I know it's not going to happen, but I keep searching anyway. Why do I keep searching? Why can't I stop? The apprentice pulls her master into an embrace. There's so much I never got to learn about him, Frieren whimpers. There are so many questions I never got to ask. I just want to know him better. If he doesn't wake up, I'll never know. He has to wake up. He has to. The sun bears down, and the glass remains unbroken. By the evening, Fern is gone. She doesn't leave immediately, not after their miserable failure to say farewell. They head back into the cottage, back to Himmel's side, and spend the afternoon together. The time is a silent truce of sorts, an admission that both are hurting, and both need the other, at least for a little while longer. In mid-afternoon, Frieren feels a wave of exhaustion. She starts yawning. She's travelled across the world and back, defeated the Demon King, but hasn't felt so tired in centuries. Fern suggests she get some sleep, and takes her back to the elf's bedroom. She slips into a doze that's deeper than it feels at the time, and dreamless. When she falls asleep, Fern is sat by her side. Upon stirring awake in the evening, the sun already set. Fern is nowhere to be found. The elf leaves her room. The front of the cottage is empty too, Himmel the only occupant. Atop the glass casket is a piece of parchment. Frieren picks it up and instantly recognises her apprentice's handwriting. I'm sorry I couldn't be there when you woke up, Frieren-sama. Only, I knew I wouldn't be able to leave if you were watching. Odd. I feel like I've been waiting for you to wake up ever since we met, but here I am, leaving right before you do. It would be just my luck if Himmel woke up at the same time. Perhaps I was the problem somehow. That's a ridiculous thought, isn't it, Master? Please don't listen to what I told you earlier. I've reflected on what I said. It was wrong. I shouldn't have told you that about Himmel. There was no point. What right do I have to try and force you to break your promise? It was selfish of me. I apologize for that. I only wish I were as patient as you. I truly hope the day comes when that casket breaks, and I hope the day is not too far away. I'm sure the two of you will smile and hold each other close. It will be like something out of a story. It will be truly pleasant, like when we saw the Northern Lanterns together. But your smile will be wider. I thought I would stay with you forever, no matter how hard it became. I see now that I can't. I can't wait as long as you. My only regret will be missing your smile when Himmel wakes up. But thanks to you, whenever I look in the mirror, I will still be by your side. Thank you for the late birthday gift, and the hair ornament, and for teaching me magic, and for being my whole life. Unfortunately, it will be embarrassing when we meet again, but I have faith that we will. You can visit me any time. I hope that you visit me more than Heiter and Ison. In fact, I demand that you do. Remember, like Himmel, I don't take no for an answer. Goodbye, Frieren-sama. For real, this time. Fern, your apprentice, always. Frieren reads the farewell note over and over again. The words run through her mind, though she doesn't really register them, no matter how many times she reads. She pulls up a chair beside Himmel and keeps reading. She is still reading when night falls. Hours later, the elf decides she has fully registered the letter's meaning. Fern has written her farewell. She isn't coming back. She sets the letter aside and turns her attention to Himmel. Well, it seems as if I'm on my own. Himmel doesn't reply. Frieren chuckles. What am I talking about? I'm not on my own. I still have you, Himmel. What do you think? Was Fern right? In that letter? Or was she right earlier today? Is the day coming or not? I don't have anyone to talk to now. I got used to the silence when I lived in the forest, after Flamme but before our journey. Then Fern came. Since you're only sleeping, I'll probably keep talking. I've decided I prefer it to the silence. Say something. Wake up, Himmel. Please wake up. His lips don't move. They stay in the shape of that strange half-smile. What does it mean? How can he still be smiling? The elf leans forward and rests her cheek on the glass, right above Himmel's head. The glass is cold, as if she were resting her head on a gravestone. Do you mind if I sleep here tonight, Himmel? Only Fern won't be here to wake me up tomorrow, or get me dressed, so I might as well stay here with you. It happens all at once. She hears herself sniffle, which she isn't expecting, and then sees a droplet of water fall onto the transparent surface, like rain falling onto a lake. Frieren wipes her eyes, but they keep falling, splashing over Himmel's casket. She wants to say goodnight, but there's no point. She'll dream of him anyway. Frieren falls asleep, completely and utterly alone. The same dream as always. She's kneeling on the ground, staring blankly at Himmel's unconscious body. Beside her is a priest, trying to shake him awake, screaming and shouting. A dwarf stands beside them, silent, helpless. His eyes are closed, his expression peaceful, sword lying at his side. He isn't moving. He's barely breathing. Her whole body feels numb. She can't express what she's feeling. There are too many emotions, all of them too strong, all of them at war in her heart. Her thoughts are a blank denial. Here she stands, having watched it all go wrong. She hears a voice, echoing from behind. It's a voice she recognizes. It's his voice, the man lying on the ground in front of her. Why can she hear him when his mouth is closed? Every night, it's around now that she realizes she's dreaming. Frieren, can you hear me? I can, she thinks. Her eyes remain fixed on the body in front of her, the hero asleep, even as his voice reverberates. It's just you and me now, Himmel. She reaches out to him, hoping he will finally turn around and finish his sentence. What are you trying to tell me? She calls out. Now is the time that she usually wakes up. Frieren prepares for her eyes to open. She will look around and find herself lying on Himmel's casket. It will be midday, since Fern is no longer here to rouse her. But she doesn't wake up. She's still dreaming, still reaching out to Himmel. She frowns. Frieren. The dream is changing. She watches, shocked and confused, as Himmel, ever so slowly, turns around. Suddenly, the scene from the past when Himmel was struck with the curse turns to dust. She feels weightless, as if falling from a cloud. Her very essence feels as if it's being drained, pulled towards Himmel's shape. Frieren blinks. She's still dreaming, but it feels different. Her surroundings have changed. She's standing in a large room, a stone church of some kind. Elves never had buildings like this. There is a wooden pulpit to the side and stained glass windows all around. Benches lie in rows separated by an aisleway. It's not a church she recognizes from her lifetime. She's at the front of the church. The empty congregation of benches feel like they're watching her. The elf looks down. These aren't her clothes. She's wearing a white dress, but not the kind she'd usually wear. It's far more ornate and elegant, with a large skirt that pulls around her feet. The fabric is soft, all satin and lace. A gauzy veil covers her face, but through the fabric she can see a bouquet of flowers in her hand. She recognizes them. Blue moon weed, Himmel's favourite. And standing in front of her is a figure she knows well. A pair of hands reach out and lift the veil covering her face. She can see the figure clearer now. It's Himmel. He's wearing a white suit, perfectly tailored, with a dashing blue bow tie, the same shade as the bouquet in her hands. "Can you hear me?" he asks, like before, like always. Frieren hesitates. She hasn't woken up yet. Has something changed? She opens her mouth and tries to respond, expecting the same to happen, for the words never to emerge. But she hears a voice. So does Himmel. Both their eyes widen. "Yes, I can hear you." They're both stunned. Himmel takes a step back. Frieren's eyes shift from the bouquet in her hands back to Himmel. "Say that again," the hero demands. She repeats herself, and the voice rings out even clearer. Himmel brings his hand to his forehead. "I don't believe it," he says, in that voice, the one she knows so well. "You heard. You responded, but this is still a dream." Frieren finishes, taking it all in. "Yes, we're both asleep." She looks around at the church, abandoned save for them. The surroundings are different. Is this merely a chapter of the dream she forgets upon waking up? She touches a petal of the bouquet she's holding. It feels tactile. Yet this is still very much unreal, however convincing as the opposite. "Is it really you?" Himmel asks, his voice full of wonder. "We appear to be sharing the same dream. Is that even possible?" "Apparently so." "How? Why now, when you've never responded before?" Frieren can remember everything as if she were awake. The curse, the past 80 years, Fern leaving, all the knowledge comes back to her without the dreamlike lack of detail. She asks Himmel what he can remember too. "Everything," he replies. "I remember the great nameless demon. I remember pushing you out of the way, and then I remember... Well, I remember dreaming." The elf considers the situation. Something must have changed for the dream to change so drastically too. The only thing she can think of is Fern leaving. But what difference would that make? Or perhaps the change was in her. She's tried casting every spell she can think of. Not one of them broke the curse. She's theorized a more powerful magic would be required, one to match the malevolent, practiced magic of a 1,000-year-old demon. Magic was different back then, she mutters, deep in thought. What was that? In the mythical era, magic was much less controlled and even less understood. The most powerful mages were simply the most gifted. They cast spells on instinct. A furious anger could crack a mountain, and a deep sadness can split the ocean. That's what Flame once taught me. You mean... The great nameless demon was well over 1,000 years old, just like me. Their magic was very powerful, but so is mine. I doubt I'll ever be able to fully break the curse, not without a full understanding of how it works, but perhaps something like talking to you could be possible. A deep sadness could split the ocean. The two of them look at each other, trying to take it all in. Himmel's eyes shift to the dress she's wearing and the bouquet in her hands. Then out of nowhere, he bursts into euphoric laughter. Frieren pouts self-consciously. What is it? Nothing, I just can't believe we're talking. I've been dreaming for so long, hoping I'd get through to you. Now I have no idea what to say. He laughs again, and it's the laugh she heard so many times, the one that always made her smile. He laughs so hard a tear appears in his eye. Frieren doesn't. She's overwhelmed, and it conveys itself as inaction. Like Himmel, she's been dreaming of this, though not quite as literally. What do you even say when a dream comes true, however different to how you imagine? Do you know how long it's been? Ages, that's all I can say. The laughter becomes a smile, no less overjoyed. How many years? 80 since you fell asleep. And you've been by my side this whole time, She blinks. Can you sense what's happening in the real world? Not really. I can sense when someone is near. I can feel their presence. I can feel your presence. Sometimes it leaves, but it always comes back. You always come back. You've been watching over me. Another laugh. Should I be flattered, Frieren? Her eyes move to the ground, out of harm's way. All she can do is change the subject. I've been trying to wake you up. What about Heiter and Ison? She falters. Heiter, did he live happily? He understands straight away. Frieren hesitates, then nods. He did. Good. His voice changes to a much more serious tone. But what about you? Frieren can't answer. Himmel doesn't press for one. He knows already. A long pause, where both are content just to enjoy the moment. Frieren's heart rate has steadied after the shock of seeing him. It really feels as if she's awake. She dares not take a step forward, move to the side unless it breaks the spell. She searches for something to say. Her eyes fall on the church walls that surround them, and then on their clothes. The elf has seen humans wearing dresses and suits like these at balls, but this is no place for a ball. This is a very different occasion. Himmel. Yes? If we're sharing the same dream, then whose dream is this? Himmel blinks and smiles fondly. Come now, Frieren. We both know whose dream this is. She swallows and doesn't reply. He takes a step closer, until he's scarcely a foot away. Can I? He hesitates. Can you what, Himmel? A sigh. You have a hair out of place. I do? One moment. He reaches out, very slowly, and tucks the offending strand of hair behind her ear, an elvish feature poking out through the human veil. Then his fingers withdraw, leaving a trace of warmth on the skin behind, warm enough to be real. I really did try to wake you up, Himmel. I know you did. You tried your best. That's more than I could ask for. I'll keep trying. You were already asleep when this happened, but I promised I would never stop, and I intend to keep that promise until you wake up. All he does is look at her. For a heartbeat, she thinks she sees a flash of disapproval. It gives way to another of his smiles, this time smug. Well, you weren't trying hard enough. What? Seriously, where's your imagination? What do you mean? The smug smile turns into a grin. You mean to tell me that, in 80 years, you never once tried true love's kiss? Wake me up. This isn't a dream, this is a nightmare. Himmel laughs, the sound even more uproarious than before. Frieren crosses her arms sulkily, not really getting the joke, and complains until he stops. It's funny. No, it isn't. Not that. I mean something else. Something equally stupid, no doubt. You know, I've been asleep for so long now that my real life feels like the dream. I had a beautiful dream once. I dreamed I was given a quest to defeat a great evil. It would take years to get there and years to get back. There would be dangers all the way. But who cared about the dangers? I was a hero, and I had the greatest hero party in the world at my back. I had a priest who could heal any wound, a dwarf who could defeat any warrior, and most importantly, I had you. Frieren tilts her head to the side. Sometimes the journey was rough, he persists, but you were with me all the way. We climbed every obstacle, defeated every enemy, even the great evil we were sent to destroy. We did it. It was a beautiful dream. No, it wasn't. We didn't defeat every enemy. Don't lie, Himmel. Our dream ended with sadness. All dreams end with sadness. That's when you wake up. She shook her head. But what about you? This isn't about me. This is about Frieren. He reaches out and rests his hand against her cheek. It's always been about you. The elf breathes out shakily. She wants to say something, but he carries on before she can. I did everything I wanted in my dream. I got to be the hero I always wanted. I made friends, I made enemies. I met you. Perhaps it's my narcissism talking, but I never got bored of saving people. How could I? And in the end, Frieren, I got to be a hero forever. I got to save the one person I cared about most of all. He laughed. You say our dream ended with sadness? This may be selfish, but it didn't end with sadness on my side. For me, that was a happy ending. Haven't you noticed? I've been smiling all this time. Frieren gasps. His hand is warm against her cheek, as warm as the summer when he was cursed. What are you saying, Himmel? When I saved your life, I didn't imagine this. I didn't imagine you bound to me like a bird in a cage. That's not, you were miserable when I asked you to join the hero party. Never moving forward, never moving back. You were just waiting for something to change, afraid to live your life. I requested that you join me then, because I wanted that to change. Himmel, She can feel it starting again, like when she fell asleep. She drops the bouquet of blue moon weeds, covering her eyes in embarrassment, the lamentable sounds escaping against her will. You've already told me you were miserable, Frieren. That won't do at all. But I promised. Then make me a new one. Let me save you one last time. He puts his hands around her wrists, gently pulling them down until he can see her misty green eyes once more. Promise me you'll live with a smile. You're much prettier smiling than crying. The elf shakes her head. You're not a hero. You're rude, you're arrogant, and you're a fake. He lets her lean against him. I know, Frieren. But on this, I won't take no for an answer. You're just like Fern. Fern? It doesn't matter. Well, if she's even half as wonderful as me, she's probably worth keeping around. She smiles, furious at herself for admitting he can be even vaguely amusing. There's the smile I wanted, Himmel whispers. But the expression is soon broken. A horrible cracking sound rips through the air. They both jump apart in surprise. The cracking sound echoes once more, then again, then again. They look around for the source of the noise and find it. The stained glass windows of the church are shattering right before their eyes, the glass collapsing onto the stone floor. The noise grows so loud they have to cover their ears, and then the cracking is no longer reserved to the windows. The stone, which should be solid, begins to break apart with the same consistency as glass. All around them, the dream they share is shattering into 1,000 pieces. Frieren turns with the intention of reaching out to Himmel. All of a sudden, she can't move. Her legs won't obey. It's like 100 nights prior to this one, stuck in place, unable to answer. Himmel, can you still hear me? He nods gravely. I can. I don't think we have much time. Then promise me. Himmel, if you don't promise what I asked for, I'll never sleep peacefully again. The noise is unbearable. The light is fading. She can feel herself being dragged away, her consciousness slipping away, the church and Himmel himself fragmenting into nothing. This is her only chance. I promise. Do you hear me, Himmel? I promise. Good. And don't forget either. Forget what? A mischievous smirk appears, unbefitting of their goodbye. He mouths something, but his voice is fading. She can't hear him any longer. She can only read his lips. Frieren wakes up with a gasp. She lifts her head, looking for the church, for the stained glass windows, for Himmel. The only one of the three that remains is the hero. He is lying on the cottage table, as surely and certainly as when she lay him there. It's the middle of the night. An owl screeches from the forest outside, and this time the sound is as real and immediate as a painful wound. But something is missing. The elf shoots to her feet, and hears the same cracking sound as she heard in the dream, only this time, from beneath her feet. She's standing on a shard of glass. All around the table, tapered shards lie in their multitudes, the cracks clean cut. Himmel's glass casket has shattered. Still gasping for air, Frieren kneels down and picks up one of the shards. It's as if someone broke it with a sledgehammer, yet the only ones in the cottage are her and Himmel. She fell asleep on the casket. Was it her? Did her magic run wild? At long last, she's made a dent on the glass. Himmel. She drops the shard immediately and returns to the hero's side. Her eyes scan his body, searching for a wound left by the shattering of the casket. His skin is unblemished and uncut. The glass must have missed him. That, or she protected him. She brushes the chips of glass on his lapel and his hair aside, then shakes him by the shoulders, hoping for a reaction. None. He's still fast asleep. She should be as miserable as she was before. Fern is gone. Himmel is still trapped by the curse. But that's not really true, is it? She lets out a bittersweet snort. What does being pretty have to do with anything, Himmel? Hey, I'm talking to you. They may have shared a dream, but the half-smile on his face hasn't been broken. In fact, it may even have widened. Frieren runs her fingers through his blue hair. All this time she's been staring down at him, a foot of separation preventing any contact. Now she can feel his skin once more. The dream foresaw the waking world. They told each other many, many things. They had a lot to say. Himmel's last words. Just before his voice cut off, he tried to tell her something more. There was something she wasn't supposed to forget. She didn't hear him, but she read his lips. She knows what he asked for. Don't forget. The thought of it almost makes her gag in embarrassment. She laughs aloud despite herself. She could never give him that. Not in life and not now. But perhaps in another way. Frieren leans down and touches her lips against his forehead. Good night, Himmel. Sweet dreams. It's been 3 days since Fern left her master behind. Her mind has been a mess the whole time, so much so she's avoided thinking at all. The summer fields around the forest have been a necessary distraction. Fern knows the road to the city, cutting through agricultural fields and rolling hills. All of them are caught in the throngs of an airless, stifling summer. The sea of colourful flowers do their part. The wildlife, the confident birds overhead, the horses running through the fields do their part too. Everything is beautiful. Everything is encouraging. The road stretches out before her like the rest of a fulfilling life. Her master deserved better than to be left without a word while her eyes were closed. It will take Fern a long time to conceive of a life without Frieren, and longer still to live it. But she will try, because what else can she do? All the reasons that made her farewell inevitable endure. So too does the singular reason that it hurts to leave. On the 3rd day, she makes camp by the side of the road at dusk. She eats supplies she brought with her and reads a grimoire to try and get to sleep. She does, but later than she's used to. The disruption to her routines, to their routine, is as jarring as snowfall in summer. The disruption continues when she wakes up. Her eyes open at the same time. Sunrise. Fern has always been an early riser. She gets dressed as she normally would, but afterwards is where any sense of normality fades. At this point, she would walk through the cottage and into her master's room. She would force Frieren out of bed, comb her hair, and only then would the day begin. Today, she is alone. There is no one to wake up beside herself. The campfire she made last night is cold and black. She made camp beside a field of barley, golden in the sunrise. The loneliness hits Fern like a blow. She swallows beneath her blanket. Is this what living her life is going to feel like? She's been resisting doing so until now, but can resist no longer. Fern reaches into her luggage, rummaging inside until her hand falls on what she's been looking for. A hand mirror, given to her not 2 days ago by her master as a farewell gift. The apprentice lifts it up and looks at her reflection. A tired-looking woman with purple hair stares back. They don't lock eyes for long. The magic in the mirror takes effect, and the reflection is replaced by a memory. By the field of barley, Fern witnesses the past once again. The northern lanterns, her and Frieren, united. She tries to smile. At least she will have the memory. At least she will... Still looking in that mirror? You really are as vain as Himmel. Fern frowns. That voice. Wasn't that Frieren who spoke? How could Frieren be speaking from within the mirror? The barley sways in the morning wind. Chills rush up to Fern's neck. She clutches the blanket, not daring to hope, to believe. The fingers of her other grip the hand mirror, clinging to her fondest memory. Ever so slowly, she looks over her shoulder. She isn't alone. Standing behind her is an elf. For once, she succeeded in dressing herself independently. The outfit is the same, white with a gold trim, black tights and a black belt. The hair, however, is much changed. Instead of the pigtails Himmel liked so much, she's wearing her hair down. It reaches to the elf's waist, like Fern's. The elf is smiling. Fern shakes like the barley in the wind. You should announce yourself rather than just standing there, Frieren-sama. You didn't announce leaving. A feeling not unlike hope surges in Fern's chest. Are you coming with me? As is always the way with Frieren, she answers with a gesture. She takes her seat next to Fern, leaning against her as they did beneath the northern lanterns. One hand comes to rest on the handle of the mirror, the other on Fern's shoulder. Good morning, Fern. Did you sleep well? I did. The apprentice returns the question, kissing her master on the cheek.